What's going on, man? Welcome back to the basement. I'm Ron, and today we're going to get into my top 5 must-start running backs for week 2. I usually do my top 5 starts and my top 5 sits, but I had a little bit of a hectic morning. I have a doctor's appointment I wasn't told about until literally 35 minutes ago, so I had to kind of cut the outline short. We're going to hop on here. I'll give you guys some short-form content. I don't know if this video is even going to be 5 minutes long, but I figure, we'll switch things up. I'll give you guys my 5 must-start running backs. Maybe I'll make a YouTube short. Maybe I'll do a little post in the Patreon for my must-sit running backs. Now, with that being said, we make these videos every single day, so make sure you go down below, subscribe, leave a like. Let's go.
Thirsty, trying to choose. I know I'm critical.
So first up, we got Jonathan Taylor at Tennessee, and I don't like to make these super obvious, but I think that we're going to start doing these with these must-start running backs where the first one's like a fringe RB1, then like a firm RB2, then a fringe RB2, and then some flyers. Now, with Jonathan Taylor, I get the frustration, but this is just to give you guys confidence, and I want to give you guys confidence to start him this week. And I know a lot of us, I have Jonathan Taylor in a couple leagues. We got that 5.8 clunker last week, and that doesn't feel good. There's some sour taste in our mouth with that, but we also have to understand that he's been extremely unlucky. And I talked about this yesterday in our trade targets video. He's going to see some major regression in the touchdown department because according to Mike Clay, he has 3.3 expected touchdowns and 6 carries inside of the 5. He leads the league in both of those categories, which is insane because he leads the league in both of those categories while also having 0 touchdowns. He's insanely unlucky. Touchdown scoring isn't, for most players, it's not a skill. It just kind of happens given the opportunity. Jonathan Taylor has just been extremely unlucky. If he just scored as many touchdowns as he was expected to, given, his down and distance to the goal line, how many rushing yards that he has overall, how many touches he has, he should be at 3. Now, that's not him overarching his expectation. That's not him, coming just short. That is just the average amount of touchdowns that he should have at this point. He would currently be the RB4 with 3 touchdowns. Let that sink in. He would be the RB4, a top 5 running back. So he's getting the opportunity. We know the talent is there. We saw it last year. He now has Tennessee on the road. And this isn't like some crazy good matchup or anything, but Tennessee has now given up 30 points or more in 2 straight weeks. And I think JT is a fine back-end RB1 this week, somewhere in that RB9 to RB12 range. Then we have Saquon Barkley at home against Atlanta. And I think the old Saquon is almost back. We are this close from seeing the old Saquon, and I know that he's been borderline unstartable in the first 2 weeks, but this is kind of what we signed up for. We read the fine print on the contract when we bought Saquon Barkley at a discount this year. He's inching his way towards becoming a top 3 running back for fantasy football. We saw his snap rate, his routes ran, his touches all increase from week 2 to week 2. We even saw that big play. I want to say he had like a 40-yard run against a very tough Washington defense. Again, this is what we signed up for. We knew the first couple weeks were going to be tough, and then by week 3, 4, 5, we would see him kind of come back into form of the Saquon Barkley that we know and love. And now that he's getting, 80% plus of the snap share, and he's out there on the field more often, he now has the opportunity. It's just how long is it until he's back to 100%? And this is a great matchup where if he is back to 100%, if on the 3rd game he's going to be back to himself, this would be the matchup for him to go out there and just go crazy. This could be the coming out party for Saquon Barkley in 2021. He gets the Falcons at home. That's not a particularly tough defense. He's at home. They should rely on Saquon a little bit. So I love him as at worst an RB2 this week. He's like a top 15 running back for me on the ranks. Now I'm going to sit down and make the rankings later on tonight. So it's Wednesday today. They'll be done by tomorrow when you guys see this on Thursday. My weekly rankings are going to have my running back ranks, quarterback, wide receiver, tight end, all of my flex rankings. You get my weekly waiver wire guide and fab guidance. That all comes with the Patreon for literally $5. It is the best deal in all of fantasy. Also, we're going to start doing Patreon only live streams every Sunday morning so I can answer your guys' start sit questions, trade questions, all that good stuff. Now, with that being said, the next running back we have is Miles Sanders at Dallas. And he's quietly the RB22 on the season right now. He hasn't been a great start. He hasn't been a bad start. He's just been kind of average. And in this matchup this week, I like him against Dallas. It's going to be a Monday night game. It's supposed to be a shootout. The over-under is 51.5, and there's going to be touchdowns to be had. I think that there's going to be a lot of goal line opportunities, a lot of red zone opportunities for Miles Sanders, and I wouldn't be surprised if he found himself in the end zone. So for that reason, his receiving ability, just getting, 2/3 of the running back touches so far, I like him as a strong RB2 play this week. Then we're going back to the well on Elijah Mitchell. I know a lot of you guys paid a lot of money and started him last week and it didn't work out, but I like his chances in week 3. He got hurt last game. He was hurt mid-game, had a shoulder injury. He came back later, And that's kind of what screwed up his entire day. And even with that injury, he still dominated the running back touches in week 2. He saw 19 out of 31 total touches. And now he's coming into a spot in week 3 where the backfield is in shambles. They're picking up guys off the streets. I think they signed maybe Duke Johnson, Lamar Miller, Kerryon Johnson, just bodies off the street to come play running back. They now have Jermichael Hasty, who has a high ankle sprain. He's ruled out on Sunday. Trey Sermon's dealing with a concussion. And if Mitchell is good to go, if Mitchell is healthy, he is going to be the lead back, the main back. And I love this matchup for him. He's going to be going up against a soft run defense in the Packers at home. The Packers were the 3rd worst defense against opposing fantasy running backs last season. This season, they're the 17th, so they're a little bit better than they were last year, but we're only 2 games in. There's not a large enough sample size to really declare that yet. I think that at home, he's going to see a decent game script. He'll get a majority of the touches, so I like him again as a fringe RB2. Then we have our last running back start of the week, and it's going to be Javonte Williams at home against the New York Jets, and I think this might be Javonte's coming out party. We're very close to seeing him have, his game where he goes crazy and he establishes himself as the RB1 in this offense. Javonte looked a lot more efficient than Melvin Gordon last week. They both had 13 carries. Javonte Williams had 64 yards, and Melvin Gordon only had 31. He literally doubled his yardage. And Javonte now gets a cupcake matchup at home against the Jets. They're 10-point favorites at home, and the Jets have given up the 9th most fantasy points to opposing running backs. A lot of things are lining up here for Javonte Williams to finally have his game where he explodes, and there could be this game script where the game gets out of hand, they're up big in the 4th quarter, and they just start giving touches to Javonte to kind of see, what they have in Javonte Williams. We could see Javonte just slice up this defense, even if there isn't garbage time, even if he gets, 15, 16, 17 touches. Damian Harris last week dragged the entire defense into the end zone. We could see Javonte have a big run, get into the end zone. I like him as a fringe RB2 this week. Then I also want to give a couple of fringe guys, some bonus plays that I think are strong RB3s and, 0 RB guys. If you don't have like a Javonte Williams you can start, and you're looking at guys like James White, or you're looking at guys like James Conner and Devin Singletary, that brand of Ronald Jones, that brand of running back. The first guy I really like this week is James White at home against New Orleans. This is a really tough run defense in New Orleans, and they might give Damian Harris some trouble. They might not just be pounding the running back between the tackles. This is a team where they did lose to the Panthers last week, but they also beat the brakes off the Packers. So we could see the Saints come in here, they could get up early, and then you have the Patriots playing from behind, and James White gets his, 5, 6, 7 targets, and then he gives you a nice floor at your RB2 spot. Hopefully not your RB1 spot, but maybe even in your RB1 spot. Then in that same type of archetype, we have Nyheim Hines at home against Tennessee, and this just feels like a Hines game in a shootout where, there might just be a Nyheim Hines screen at like the 15-yard line and he brings it into the end zone. This is going to be a high-scoring game. Colts versus Tennessee, and I like Nyheim Hines just as a, probably around RB30, RB35, as a guy that you can plug in as your RB2, and you hope that he gets receiving work for his floor, and you hope that he gets into the end zone because he has a lot of athleticism and because he's an explosive playmaker. Then our last bonus RB3 of the day is going to be Latavious Murray. He really hasn't looked that great for the Ravens, but the Ravens running backs see some crazy efficiency, and he has a great matchup. They're at Detroit. We know Detroit's run D is terrible. I think they gave up the most fantasy points to opposing running backs last year. They're like top 5 this year, and I know that Tyson Williams is the main guy there, but we could easily see maybe, Latavious Murray sneaks into the end zone on a goal line carry. He could maybe get 50% of the touches, and he could break one off against a bad defense. There's just a lot of scenarios where Latavious Murray could hit this week. Now, that's going to do it for us today. Now, make sure you guys go check out Underdog Fantasy. You have the Thursday night game on tonight, and if you want to make a little bit of money on the side, you go to their pick'em games. They have over-unders for all the players on the slate, and you can pick, over-under receiving yards, passing touchdowns, fantasy points, all that good stuff. If you get like 3 or more of them right, you can like 6 extra money or better. It's pretty crazy how they even allow it on the site, but if you use my promo code Ron, when you deposit $10 or more, you get a $10 bonus on top of that to go have some fun on the pick'em game, so make sure you go check that out. Now, I love you guys. I got to go run to my doctor's appointment. As always, I'll see you guys in the next one.